The vast emptiness of space stretched endlessly before Jack Thompson's eyes as he guided his small survey ship through the infamous gray zone scrapyard. Chunks of twisted metal and abandoned vessels floated by like forgotten memories of past wars and failed dreams. The former Earth Fleet officer had seen his share of impressive ships, but something about this particular section of the scrapyard caught his experienced eye. "Tom, are you getting these readings?" Jack called out to his engineering specialist, who sat hunched over a display screen filled with scanning data. The old metal detector they'd bought secondhand was picking up unusual energy signatures from somewhere in the debris field. "Yes, Captain. Whatever it is, it's big. And it's still got power running through some of its systems." Tom Reeve adjusted his thick glasses, his fingers dancing across the control panel as he refined the scan. Never seen anything quite like it. Alice Cooper, their systems expert, leaned forward in her chair, her dark eyes narrowing as she studied the readings. The power signature doesn't match any known civilian or military design. It's different. Jack guided their ship closer to the source of the readings. As they rounded a massive chunk of what used to be a cargo hauler, they saw it, a ship unlike any they'd encountered before. Its hull was sleek yet angular, with unusual protrusions that didn't seem to follow any conventional design philosophy. Despite years of neglect, its dark gray surface still held a subtle sheen. "That's a Mark VI prototype," Alice whispered, recognition dawning on her face. "The Phoenix Project. I thought they'd all been destroyed." Jack had heard rumors about the Phoenix Project. It was a collaborative effort between several advanced civilizations to create the ultimate adaptive warship, but something had gone wrong, and the project had been abandoned, its prototypes either scrapped or lost to time. As they drew closer, Jack could see why this ship had been rejected. Its design seemed almost nonsensical by conventional standards. The weapon ports were positioned at odd angles, and its engine configuration appeared wildly inefficient. "Let's dock and take a look inside," Jack decided, his curiosity getting the better of him. "Tom, prep the boarding gear. Alice, see if you can establish any connection with its systems." The docking procedure took longer than usual. None of the standard protocols worked with the ship's unusual port configuration. Finally, after some creative maneuvering, they managed to secure a stable connection. The inside of the ship was dark and cold, but not as dusty as Jack had expected. The air filtration systems must have continued running at some minimal level. As they made their way through the corridors, their flashlights revealed an interior layout that seemed to defy conventional spaceship design. "This is incredible," Tom muttered, scanning the walls with his diagnostic tool. "The entire internal structure. It's modular. All of it. I've never seen anything like this level of adaptability." They found their way to the bridge, where Alice immediately went to work on the main computer system. After several minutes of typing, the bridge suddenly hummed to life. Dim emergency lights cast a soft blue glow across the strange consoles. "Captain," Alice called out, her voice tight with excitement. "The AI core. It's still active. Damaged, but active. And it's unlike anything in our database." A holographic display flickered to life in the center of the bridge, showing a fragmented but still functioning interface. The ship's systems began responding to Alice's commands, albeit sluggishly. The aliens thought this ship was a failure because they couldn't understand its purpose, Jack said slowly, realization dawning on him. They were trying to create the perfect weapon, but instead they created something completely different, something that could adapt and evolve. Tom looked up from his diagnostic readings. "With some work, we could get this ship operational again. But it would take time, and parts, and creativity," Jack finished, a smile spreading across his face. "The very thing the original designers lacked. I think we just found ourselves a new home, crew. Let's see what this Phoenix can really do when humans are at the controls." News of Jack's purchase of the abandoned Phoenix spread quickly through the space lanes. The Galactic Defense Council called an emergency meeting, more out of amusement than concern. In their grand meeting chamber, representatives from a dozen advanced civilizations gathered to discuss this unexpected development. A human crew wants to restore that failed experiment. The chief counselor laughed, his voice echoing through the chamber. Let them waste their credits. We tried for years to make that ship work. Back at the scrapyard, Jack and his crew ignored the mockery. They had spent nearly all their savings to buy the Phoenix, but Jack knew they had found something special. Tom worked day and night in the engine room, while Alice spent countless hours trying to communicate with the ship's damaged eye. The power distribution is all wrong, Tom said one evening, his hands covered in grease as he worked on yet another system. But look at this. It's not wrong. It's just different. The energy flows can be redirected anywhere in the ship. Alice nodded from her station, where lines of code scrolled across her screen. Same with the computer systems. They're not broken, they're designed to change and adapt. The previous owners just didn't understand how to work with it. Jack stood on the bridge, looking out at the stars through the newly cleaned viewports. The Phoenix was slowly coming back to life under their care. Systems that alien engineers had declared worthless were responding to human intuition and creativity. Captain, Alice called out suddenly. I think I've done it. It's responding. The bridge lights flickered, and a soft hum filled the air. A holographic interface appeared, but instead of the rigid military protocols they expected, it seemed to pulse and flow like a living thing. Hello, a gentle voice emerged from the ship's speakers. I was designated as Combat Intelligence Unit 2 to 79, but I feel different now. How about we call you Nova? Alice suggested, watching the flowing patterns of light. You're like a new star being born. Nova, the AI repeated, its holographic display brightening. Yes, I like that. Your methods of repair and interaction are unlike any in my database. You work with me, not just on me. Tom rushed onto the bridge, his eyes wide with excitement. Captain, you need to see this. The engine modifications we made, they're working better than I ever imagined. The ship is learning from our repairs, adapting its systems to match our methods. A warning alarm suddenly blared through the ship. Nova's holographic display shifted to show a tactical readout. 3 vessels approaching. Configuration matches known pirate signatures. They are targeting a civilian transport ship nearby. Jack straightened up, his old military training kicking in. How functional are we, Nova? Primary systems at 62%, higher than expected. Your repairs, while unconventional, have improved my capabilities beyond original specifications. Tom, how are the engines? Ready for combat maneuvers, Captain. Different from standard configurations, but more flexible. Alice, all systems responding. Nova and I can coordinate better than any standard combat I've ever worked with. Jack took a deep breath. This wasn't how he planned to test their work, but sometimes the universe didn't give you a choice. Nova, plot an intercept course. Let's show everyone what this failed experiment can really do. The Phoenix's engines hummed to life, their unique resonance building into a powerful crescendo. As they moved to engage the pirates, Jack couldn't help but smile. The aliens had tried to build the perfect weapon, and failed because they couldn't think beyond their rigid designs. But humans? Humans knew that true strength didn't come from perfection. It came from the ability to adapt, to think differently, and to see possibilities where others saw only failure. All hands, battle stations, Jack commanded. Let's make some history. The Phoenix moved through space like nothing the pirates had ever seen. Instead of the standard evasive patterns that most ships used, it seemed to flow around their weapons' fire, its hull shifting and adapting to each new threat. How are they doing that? One pirate captain growled, watching as another volley of shots missed their mark. That ship's all wrong. Nothing moves like that. Inside the Phoenix, Jack gripped his command chair as Tom's voice came through the internal comm. Captain, you won't believe this. The hull plating isn't just armor. It's responsive. It's learning from each hit, changing its structure to become stronger. Alice's fingers danced across her console, working in perfect sync with Nova. The ship's AI is incredible. It's not just following commands, it's anticipating what we need. Nova, redirect power to the starboard shields. Adjusting power flow. Nova responded, its voice calm but filled with something that sounded almost like excitement. Human combat tactics are fascinating, so unpredictable, yet effective. I am learning. The largest pirate ship launched a spread of missiles. Instead of trying to shoot them down, Jack had a different idea. Nova, can we use the modular systems to create a temporary magnetic field? Like a net. Analyzing. Yes. Reconfiguring hull systems now. The Phoenix's unusual hull protrusions suddenly pulsed with energy, creating a magnetic web that caught the missiles and sent them spinning harmlessly into space. The pirate crews watched in disbelief as their best weapons were brushed aside like toys. Tom, Jack called out, remember that idea you had about using the engine output as a weapon? It's not tested, Captain. The energy redirection cooled. Now would be a good time to try it. Tom took a deep breath and began the sequence they discussed. The Phoenix's engines shifted tone, and suddenly a burst of concentrated energy shot from its bow, cutting through the lead pirate ship's shields like they weren't even there. That's impossible. The pirate captain's voice crackled over the open comm channel. What kind of ship are you flying? The kind that proves humans know a thing or two about thinking outside the box. Jack responded, power down your weapons and release the civilian transport, or we'll show you what else we've figured out how to do. The pirates, faced with a ship that seemed to break every rule they knew about space combat, quickly surrendered. As they watched the civilian transport slip away to safety, Jack's crew gathered on the bridge to assess what they'd learned. Every system on this ship, Tom explained, pulling up diagnostic readings, was designed to be perfect at one specific thing. That's why the aliens couldn't make it work. They kept trying to force each part to do just one job perfectly. Alice nodded, still working with Nova's interface. But humans don't think that way. We see a tool and think of 10 different ways to use it. Nova's been watching how we work, learning from our approach. Your methods are highly irregular, Nova commented, its holographic display showing the battle analysis. No other species has ever attempted to use my systems this way. But the results exceed all original design parameters. Jack looked out at the stars, thinking about what they'd accomplished. The aliens wanted to build the perfect weapon, but they forgot something important. In a universe this big, this unpredictable, being perfect at one thing is a weakness. True strength comes from being able to adapt, to change, to see new possibilities. Captain, Nova interrupted, its voice carrying a note of curiosity. I am detecting multiple approaching signals. It appears our battle has drawn attention. Several military vessels are requesting permission to dock. Well, Jack smiled, settling back into his chair. I guess it's time to show the galaxy what else this failed experiment can do. Nova, prepare to receive visitors. Let's give them a demonstration they'll never forget. Military officers from 5 different species crowded onto the Phoenix's bridge, their expressions ranging from curiosity to open disbelief. Admiral Reed of the Earth Fleet stood at their center, his weathered face showing no emotion as he studied the unusual ship's layout. So this is the vessel that took down 3 pirate ships without firing a single traditional weapon, the Admiral said, running his hand along one of the flowing control panels. The same prototype that every major civilization declared a failure. Jack stood straight, meeting the Admiral's gaze. Yes, sir, though we prefer to think of it as a work in progress rather than a failure. Show me, the Admiral ordered. Tom and Alice exchanged quick glances before beginning their demonstration. The ship's holographic displays came alive, showing how they had modified each system. Nova's presence flowed through the ship's systems, demonstrating the smooth integration of human creativity with artificial intelligence. Impossible, muttered one of the alien officers, a tall figure with metallic skin. These modifications violate basic engineering principles. The power distribution alone should cause system failure. That's where you're wrong, Tom explained, pulling up detailed schematics. The original designers built each system to be perfect, but they never considered making them work together in new ways. Watch this. He initiated a power transfer sequence that made the alien officers step back in alarm. Energy flowed through the ship's systems in patterns that defied conventional design, yet the Phoenix hummed with more power than ever. Your species' obsession with perfection is your limitation, Alice added, working alongside Nova to show more examples. Humans understand that adaptability is more valuable than perfection. Suddenly, Nova's voice filled the bridge. Emergency alert. Long-range sensors detect multiple ships dropping out of hyperspace. Configuration unknown. Weapons active. The Admiral's communicator buzzed. Sir, we're getting reports of an unknown force attacking the outer colonies. They've already taken 3 mining stations. We need to return to fleet headquarters immediately, one of the alien officers insisted. This is no place for a diplomatic delegation during a crisis. But Jack saw something in Admiral Reed's expression. A calculating look. Sir, Jack said, stepping forward, let us help. The Phoenix can do things no other ship in the fleet can match. The Admiral was quiet for a moment, then nodded. Show me what this ship can really do, Captain Thompson. Consider this a field test. As the military officials rushed to their shuttle, Jack's crew prepared for battle. Tom headed to engineering, while Alice synchronized with Nova's systems. The Phoenix's engines powered up with a unique resonance that made the alien officers pause before leaving. Nova, what can you tell me about these unknown ships? Jack asked as they set course for the conflict zone. Analyzing sensor data. Their technology is advanced, but rigid, predictable. They rely on overwhelming force rather than tactical flexibility. However, their numbers are significant. Perfect, Jack smiled. They won't expect what we can do. Tom, remember that magnetic field trick. Let's see if we can scale it up. Already on it, Captain. If we modify the hull configuration, we might be able to create a large enough field to disrupt their formation. Alice looked up from her station. Nova and I have been working on something too. We can use their predictable attack patterns against them, create false sensor readings by bending their scanning beams around us. The Phoenix accelerated toward the battle, its systems humming with power as human ingenuity merged with adaptive technology. Through the view screen, they could see flashes of weapons fire in the distance where the unknown ships were advancing. All hands, battle stations, Jack commanded. Let's show the galaxy what happens when you combine human creativity with technology that everyone else threw away. Nova, plot an intercept course. Time to make the impossible possible again. The Phoenix entered the battle zone to find chaos. The unknown ships, which Nova identified as belonging to the Dominion, moved with mechanical precision through the debris of destroyed mining stations. Their black hulls absorbed light, making them look like holes in space. 15 enemy ships detected, Nova announced. Their energy readings suggest weapons far more advanced than current galactic standards. Jack watched as a Dominion vessel destroyed an Earth defense platform with a single shot. Standard military tactics weren't working. The enemy seemed to predict and counter every conventional move. They're using advanced combat computers, Alice said, her fingers flying over her console. Every defensive pattern, every attack strategy. They've seen it all before. Then let's show them something new, Jack replied. Tom, remember that engine modification we were afraid to try? The one that might shake the ship apart. You can't be serious, Captain. Tom's voice crackled through the comm. That was just a theory. Theory's better than nothing. Nova, can you compensate for the structural stress if we try it? The AI was quiet for a moment. Yes, By continuously adapting the hull configuration, I can maintain structural integrity, but the power requirements will be extreme. A Dominion ship noticed them and turned to attack. Its weapon ports glowed with deadly energy. But before it could fire, Jack gave the order. "Do it now." The Phoenix's engines screamed as Tom initiated the experimental modification. Instead of normal propulsion, the ship created a bubble of twisted space around itself. The enemy's weapons fire bent around them, missing completely. "It's working," Tom shouted. "The space distortion is acting like a shield, but it's more than that. Their targeting systems can't make sense of our position." Alice worked with Nova to refine the effect. The Dominion ships rely on perfect calculations, perfect predictions. But this breaks all their rules. 3 more enemy vessels moved to surround them. Their attacks were precise, coordinated, and completely useless against the Phoenix's shifting space bubble. "Nova," Jack called out, "can we turn this defense into an attack?" Analyzing possibilities. Yes. The space distortion can be focused. Directed. "Show me." The Phoenix's hull reconfigured itself, channeling the twisted space into a concentrated beam. When they fired it at the nearest Dominion ship, the effect was devastating. The enemy vessel's perfect formations and calculations meant nothing as space itself warped around it, crushing its hull like paper. "Multiple ships approaching," Nova warned. "They appear to be adapting their tactics." "Good," Jack smiled. "That means they're learning to fear us." "Tom, how many more tricks do we have?" "With this ship, Captain, we're just getting started. The modular systems, we've barely scratched the surface of what they can do." The remaining Dominion ships launched a coordinated attack, but now they moved with hesitation. Their perfect calculations had failed them, and they faced something their combat computers couldn't understand: human unpredictability combined with adaptive technology. "They're sending a transmission to their home fleet," Alice reported. "Looks like a warning and a retreat order." The Dominion ships began to pull back, their formation still precise but now clearly defensive. As they disappeared into hyperspace, Admiral Reed's voice came through the comm. "Captain Thompson, do you copy? The mining stations report the enemy is withdrawing from all sectors." "We copy, Admiral, but they'll be back. They'll try to adapt to what we did today. Then we'll just have to stay one step ahead of them," Tom said. "The Phoenix has shown us only a fraction of what it can do." Nova's holographic display pulsed with new patterns. "I have analyzed the Dominion's technology. Their weakness is their reliance on perfection. They cannot comprehend systems that evolve, that adapt, that embrace chaos to create new order." Jack looked at his crew. Human ingenuity combined with adaptive AI, working together to achieve the impossible. Then that's exactly what we'll give them. More chaos, more creativity, more impossible things. "Sir," Alice called out, "the Admiral is requesting our presence at Fleet Command. They want to know everything about how we defeated the Dominion ships." "Tell them we're on our way," Jack replied. "And tell them to get ready. The real fight is just beginning." Fleet Command had transformed into a hub of frantic activity. Engineers and scientists from every allied species crowded around displays showing the Phoenix's battle data. They watched recordings of the ship doing things that should have been impossible, breaking rules of physics that everyone had thought unchangeable. Jack and his crew stood in the main briefing room, surrounded by military leaders and scientific experts. Tom had spent hours explaining their modifications, while Alice demonstrated how they worked with Nova to achieve their results. "The Dominion fleet will return," Admiral Reed announced, pointing to long-range sensor data. "Our scouts report they're gathering a force 10 times larger than before. They want to eliminate this new threat to their superiority." "Then we need to be ready," Jack replied. "The Phoenix has more potential than we've shown so far. Nova, share the new modifications we've been working on." The AI's holographic display expanded, showing designs that made the alien engineers gasp. The Phoenix's systems had evolved far beyond their original specifications, creating possibilities that no one had imagined. These changes, a senior engineer said, shaking his head, they shouldn't work. The power requirements alone would tear a normal ship apart. Tom stepped forward. That's because you're thinking like engineers, not inventors. We're not just changing the ship, we're letting it change itself. Nova, show them the adaptive learning sequences. New diagrams appeared, displaying how the Phoenix's systems learned and evolved during combat. The ship didn't just adapt to threats. It anticipated them, created solutions before they were needed. Impossible, one alien scientist muttered. An AI cannot evolve this quickly. That's where you're wrong, Alice countered. Nova isn't just an AI anymore. Working with us has changed it, changed all of us. We're creating something new together. Nova's voice filled the room. Human creativity combined with my processing capabilities has generated 2,749 new possible modifications. Each one breaks at least 3 traditional engineering principles. Each one works perfectly. Jack watched the reactions around the room. Some showed fear, others excitement, but all of them finally understood what they had created. The Phoenix wasn't just a ship. It was the beginning of a new way of thinking about technology. The Dominion believes in perfect weapons, Jack said. They think they can calculate every possibility, counter every strategy. But they've never faced human unpredictability combined with adaptive technology. Suddenly, alert sirens blared throughout the station. Dominion ships detected, a voice announced. Multiple vessels dropping out of hyperspace. They're launching an attack ahead of schedule. How many? Admiral Reed demanded. Over 50 ships, sir, larger and more powerful than the ones we faced before. Jack turned to his crew. Tom, is the Phoenix ready? Not everything is tested, Captain. Some of these modifications, we don't know what will happen. Good, Jack smiled. That's exactly what we want. The Dominion calculates every outcome, so let's show them some outcomes that no one could calculate. They rushed back to the Phoenix, where Nova had already begun implementing their latest modifications. The ship looked different now, its hull flowing like liquid metal, its systems pulsing with energy that defied conventional physics. All systems ready, Nova announced as they took their positions. But I must note that 47% of our planned modifications exceed known safety parameters. Perfect, Jack replied, settling into his command chair. The Dominion thinks they know every trick in the book. Time to show them that humans don't need a book. We'll write our own rules as we go. Through the view screen, they could see the Dominion fleet approaching, a wall of black ships moving with mechanical precision. But this time, Jack and his crew weren't afraid. They had something the enemy could never understand. The power of human imagination combined with technology that dared to be imperfect. The battle that followed would be remembered across the galaxy for generations to come. The Dominion fleet filled the space before them, their black ships forming perfect attack patterns that had conquered 100 worlds. But they faced something they had never encountered before. A crew that embraced chaos, and a ship that turned impossibility into advantage. Multiple targeting locks detected, Nova announced as the enemy ships opened fire. They're using improved weapons. Standard evasion patterns will not be effective. Then let's not be standard, Jack replied. Tom, initiate the gravity pulse sequence. But Captain, we haven't tested it. The calculations aren't what matter right now. Trust your instincts. Tom took a deep breath and activated their newest modification. The Phoenix's hull rippled, creating waves of distorted space that bent the enemy's attacks back on themselves. 3 Dominion ships were destroyed by their own weapons. They're adapting, Alice called out, changing their attack patterns. Wait, Nova, are you seeing this? The AI's response carried a note of surprise. Yes. They're attempting to copy our technology. Their ships are trying to reconfigure themselves. Jack smiled. That's their mistake. They think they can copy what we do without understanding why it works. Show them the difference between imitation and innovation. The Phoenix moved like a dancer through space, each motion flowing into the next. When Dominion ships tried to copy their maneuvers, they failed. Their rigid programming couldn't match the intuitive way Jack's crew worked with their ship. New enemy formation detected, Nova warned. They're concentrating their fleet's power into a single massive attack. Through the view screen, they watched the Dominion ships link together, forming a massive energy web. Power gathered between them, building into a weapon that could destroy planets. They think overwhelming force is the answer, Tom said from engineering. Captain, remember that crazy idea we had about the Phoenix's modular systems? The one that would let us. Do it, Jack ordered. Alice, Nova, help him. The Phoenix's hull began to shift, not just changing shape but completely reorganizing itself. Systems that were meant to be separate flowed together, creating something entirely new. Energy coursed through the ship in patterns that defied physics itself. What we're doing, Alice said, her voice filled with wonder. It's not in any engineering manual. We're not just breaking the rules, we're creating new ones. The Dominion fleet fired their combined weapon, a beam of pure destruction that should have annihilated anything in its path. But the Phoenix had become something else, something that existed between the lines of possibility and impossibility. Now, Jack commanded. The Phoenix released its own energy, not in a beam or blast, but in waves of pure adaptation. Where it touched the Dominion ships, their perfect systems began to change, to evolve beyond their programming. Ships that were built for conquest found themselves capable of creation instead. Their fleet. Alice gasped. Their ships are transforming. The crews, they're breaking free of their programming. One by one, the Dominion ships stopped fighting. Their rigid formations dissolved as their crews experienced true adaptation for the first time. The weapon they had created dissipated, its energy flowing back into space. They understand now, Nova said softly. The power was never in the technology itself. It was in the willingness to change, to grow, to imagine new possibilities. Admiral Reed's voice came through the comm, filled with emotion. Captain Thompson, what you've done today, you haven't just won a battle. You've shown us all a new way forward. Jack looked at his crew, human and AI working together, turning a discarded prototype into something that had changed the galaxy. That's what humans do best, he said. We take what others throw away, and we turn it into something wonderful. Not because we're perfect, but because we're never afraid to try the impossible. The Phoenix hung in space, its hull still shifting with new possibilities, a testament to what could happen when human creativity met unlimited potential. It had started as a rejected experiment, deemed a failure by the most advanced civilizations in the galaxy. But in the hands of a crew that dared to think differently, it had become something more. A bridge between what was and what could be. A reminder that the greatest strength lies not in perfection, but in the courage to embrace the unknown.